take my time. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
So, hello Judith, how's your week been?
Hello, Nicola. Happy New Year. Good, I think. 2 or 3 days into the new working year, and a strange mixture of very, very busy and completely flat quiet. Had the day off yesterday, which I'd always planned to do for my own planning, my own 2015 planning. But because I'd managed to achieve that during the Christmas holidays, I had sort of a spare day yesterday, and I'll tell you later what I did with it.
Oh.
So last week, we talked about that I wasn't going to do any business emails outside office hours, and no iPad in the bedroom and single tasking. Well, I'm chuffed, actually. They're going on well.
Oh my goodness, so you're managing to stick to it?
Well, quite well. I found a natural boundary, which is, we talked several weeks ago about the site which is called I Done This or I Done That or something. It sends me the email at 6 o'clock every night, so I use that as my last email.
Well, we haven't talked about it on the podcast, actually, so perhaps that's something to discuss in a later date. But
we have, because you said you didn't like the grammar, and I said neither did I.
Oh, good point, yes. Remember it now. Yeah.
Oh, anyway, because it sends me an email at 6 o'clock every night or thereabouts, it's programmed to do that. I use that as the last email of the day that I do, which is like a boundary, which is very useful.
Yeah, well, that's really good, isn't it? Because it means that as you get to 5:45, you think that email is going to be arriving soon, and I better get whizzed through them quick.
Yes, I don't really notice things like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's 5:45, but because I tend to give up. The point is more that I can't do any after it, rather than that I've done them all before it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you finding that the whole thing of trying to single task, not having the iPad in the bedroom, it's all adding together to a more zen-like existence?
Yes, I've also done my 10 minutes meditating. I haven't done it yet today because I had an 0800 call today, but I think the single tasking will take longer, but actually no iPad in the bedroom, although I did sneak it in last night I was Googling a recipe for homemade hummus, but I wasn't using it. I wasn't using it for business purposes. I think it's, for me, the relief of having made up my mind that I'm not going to do work outside business hours.
Yeah.
With I think there's one or two exceptions, maybe one email both nights, but it's the relief of having created my own boundary. I think that's what it is.
You're giving yourself permission to have time off.
Yeah, it helps also that I've got a very gripping book on the go in a minute, and I'll tell you about that later as well.
Oh, okay, cool. So anything else during this week? Did you do anything at New Year?
I don't like really New Year. I can't really remember New Year. It was like 8 days ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah. And yes, if one tends to ignore it as I do, then and you do, obviously, then you just don't even notice it, do you? Really? Apart from,
remember that
go on.
Sorry,
I've always wanted to go on Jules Holland's Hootenanny show.
Yeah, I don't really understand there's a lot of enthusiasm on Facebook for that. I don't really get that, to be honest. But I hear you. I know you like that kind of music.
Yeah, I like the fact that he brings together a very eclectic mix of guests, but I think they record it back in November, so one wouldn't have to stay up for New Year for it anyway.
I'm sure they do, which is very funny. I saw the Graham Norton show for New Year's Eve, and they clearly recorded that before Christmas. They were all having a great laugh about it because he was saying, how was your Christmas? And he said it was passed in a blink of an eye, didn't it? Because they hadn't had it yet, which is very funny.
So bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Okay, so my three things that have happened this week are that obviously our podcast is rocking it on the iTunes charts. I'm so thrilled, I can't tell you. It was a bit like the moment when I saw my book go to number one.
That's very exciting.
I opened up the podcast. I mean, it was only after a week of being live on iTunes. We went live with 5 episodes, and then we published another one. And then by the time I went to look at it the next time over the weekend, I think we're in the top 20 of new and noteworthy for both careers and management and marketing. And we're in the top 30 overall for business, which is the big category under which both those other categories come. And so when you go to podcasts and then you click on business, we are on the front page. So people are, seeing it immediately and above the fold. And our download numbers are reflecting that. Hopefully people are subscribing. I have had a lot of nice comments in Podcasters Paradise about it, about how funny we are.
I did say to you at the beginning of this, we have been called the French and Saunders of the wealth creation industry before, if you remember.
Yes, and so that's really good. I think the Americans are enjoying it particularly. The other thing that's happened this week is I have had a lot of opt-ins on my new 7-day startup business, clicksandleads.com, which I've been putting out there just, because I followed Dan Norris's 7-day startup book. So he's been giving me some advice on it because I'm in his group. I put it on the Warrior Forum as a Warriors for Hire, and I didn't know how that would go at all because they're a very cynical bunch over there. But that's driving quite a lot of traffic over, and people are opting in for the setup call, which is my, it's basically the first half an hour is where I take them through whether Facebook ads will be right for them. And the second half is where I actually set up the account so that I could then run the ads for them. But it's the big news is literally this morning I got an email from Lead Pages. I don't know, you've heard me talk about Lead Pages a lot, haven't you?
Yes.
They're going to feature it on their blog.
Oh, exciting because you've got the word leads in there. Very good.
I know, and the thing is they get such massive amounts of traffic and everybody shares it. And the reason I didn't realise that I'd used a very new theme, so I was one of the first people to use it, and everyone's been tweeting about it, including the creator of the theme. They've all been tweeting my link and sharing it on Twitter. Lead Pages have shared it, Bob the Teacher have shared it. He's got 11,000 followers, and it's just really, really. I was a bit surprised, really, at the fuss, but I do things quickly, so obviously I just found the thing as quickly after it was released as possible, and I just used it.
I know you said last week that you were a bit annoyed that you'd used one and then discovered Startuply. You didn't go with Startuply in the end then?
Basically, Startuply is a lovely theme, very beautiful. It's from the Envato marketplace. Theme Forest are the people who are selling it. I couldn't make it work, Judith, but they did give me a full refund very promptly. So I was
okay.
So I was quite impressed with Envato. I'm not sure if it was me or if it was them. I tried lots of different ways of uploading it and activating the theme, but it just would never work. So I just went back to them and said, can I have a refund? It's not working for me. And they said, yeah, sure.
No. Okay, good. I always think that's the best way, don't you?
And then, as fate would have it, not that I believe in this stuff, but then if I'd have had the Startuply theme on it by now, I wouldn't be being featured on the Lead Pages marketplace.
No, well, exactly. That's what I was trying to clarify, which theme you'd gone with. But also I want to know here, what is Podcasters Paradise, or whatever you called it?
Oh, well, it's John Lee Dumas, who is the original inspiration for me starting my first podcast when I saw he does daily podcasts, and he interviews an entrepreneur every day. It's half an hour show, very fast and furious, great fun. Lots of different entrepreneurs. He started a thing called Podcasters Paradise because he realised it's not just about the technical side of starting a podcast. It's about how to market your podcast as well.
Yeah.
So it's like a community. He launched that. Funnily enough, there's a really good story on the Lead Pages blog because he launched Podcasters Paradise and made 6 figures in a week or something. Just using Lead Pages. He didn't use a website at all. He just used the Lead Pages opt-in page, the Lead Pages sales page.
Yes. You mentioned that before Christmas, and I didn't make a note of that.
Well, yeah, Podcasters Paradise. It's a community. It's a forum. It's a Facebook group. It's extremely active. It's extremely supportive and helpful to all podcasters. But the other
It's got a very nice name as well.
Yes. Oh, you'd love the graphics. It's very tropical graphics. But we all help each other. So there's a thing called Pay It Forward Friday where you can put your podcast up and get people to go and review it. And that's what I did for Own It, the podcast. And people have been reviewing this one. So it's very supportive and helpful. I like it.
Very good.
So what's fueled your fire this week?
I think it's all the variety of being back at work. Monday mornings, I get my clients to send in a sort of check-in report, and we'd had 2 weeks off, so it was sort of 3 weeks of built-up news or lack thereof. And I think what was exciting was that 90% of them, and I have done that some mathematically, were very enthusiastic about 2015. And their enthusiasm created a buzz which infected me. So we were all upbeat. There were 10% of us that weren't, and that's okay too, because that first day back at work after 2 weeks off, again in dark, cold UK, where some people are regretful about how much debt has been incurred over Christmas. That first day, I think, can be quite a hard climb for some. I was enjoying my Christmas holidays quite a lot. It could have gone on a bit longer. And I think that what was interesting was that a lot of people, I'll talk about this a little bit more later on, but the central theme was how much better care they intend to take of themselves in 2015, because quite a lot of people have been poorly. I will come back to this point later on. I want to talk about it a bit more, but they were all upbeat and excited, and it was difficult not to be infected by that. And somebody told a story about even the dustbin men are whistling round here, which struck me rather as amusing, because actually it's not a very good job being a dustbinman in the first week of January, because you have to collect all the old Christmas trees as well. So, whether you're coming back fast or whether you're coming back slow to a new year, it's all okay. Even the ones that were a bit slow, within a day, they were reporting, oh, shame I sent my check-in yesterday, because in 24 hours it's all turned around for me. A couple of very quick turnarounds from just showing up, really. So I think it's the general buzz and excitement. Do you remember I said last week, just let me at it, I'm excited. But it's come true this week. In my community, there's an excitement and a buzz.
Oh, fascinating. So, I still find it astonishing that people, I know you've worked very hard at having 2 weeks off. Psychologically, you've worked,
Yes.
worked on yourself to make sure you do take time off. But I just don't really understand what eats everyone's time up. I suppose lots of people have lots of family things to go to, don't they? And relatives arriving for the whole day and things like that.
Well, I think they enjoy not doing very much. I think we're all workaholics, and I think it takes everybody a while to wind down. It took me a week to wind down. And then when you're wound down, doing the things that you love, like reading, in my own case, I'm in the middle of a book at the moment that's so exciting. I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah.
That's last night at midnight. I didn't want to put it down, but I had to, because my first client called today with a group at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I had to stop reading. I didn't want to stop reading. And of course, in the Christmas holidays, I didn't have to stop reading. No. So it's about your life. You get a life. You don't, the thing that you realise when you're on holiday is, gosh, I don't know how we have time to go to work, because, leisure can fill up every waking moment if you want it to. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was a teenager getting into a good book, because I used to go to the library and get 4 books out at once. And they were big fat books too, all sorts of things really. And I used to absolutely love that, reading till, you realise it's 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
I haven't done that for a while, but I did read, I can't remember, it was last year sometime, I definitely found myself reading till 2 in the morning. I can't remember which book it was now though. But it was very good. It's a lovely, luxurious feeling when you know that you can read into the night and then you can sleep until you need to in the morning.
Absolutely, yes. And I think that's what I was doing in the second week of my 2 weeks, which, of course, brings a little bit of anxiety about, hello, I need to pull this back, otherwise I won't be able to get up in the mornings next week. But anyway, we're here. Yeah. So what about you? What's fueled your fire?
Miracles, Judith. Your word of the week, or your word of the year.
Yes.
Miracles have happened, and they're not really miracles, but they feel like miracles. For example, it's about doing all the things that, okay, so there's this thing, right? One of the things that has always held me back from setting goals has been the fear of disappointment. It's not the fear of failure or the fear of success, it's the fear of disappointment. Because I've never wanted to write a goal down and then disappoint myself by not achieving it. And I've always never known how to create a strategy and a plan, because I didn't know these things till I got into personal development and then business coaching. So I used to set goals and not have any clue on how to achieve them. So I often did disappoint. over Christmas, I had a few days off, and I did have the odd day when I went and sat and watched the Kardashian stroke Disney princesses with Phoebe. I did do the things, and the things I was doing were very enjoyable, so it didn't feel like work. And the fact that nobody was interrupting me on Skype or the telephone or anything was nice. But all of the things, miracles happened. The podcast went to the top 20. The first email, you're going to like this. The first email I opened yesterday was someone that I'd spoken to before Christmas, and she'd watched my Best Year Yet webinar, and she'd booked herself into my diary, and she had decided that she wanted to go with the VIP, and she decided she wanted to go with the VIP level, and could I fit her in this week before she goes back to Africa. And she wanted the top level of my coaching program, which is, it's lovely. It's really nice. I get to have a lovely VIP day with someone again and then work with them throughout the year. It was almost like a miracle, but then it wasn't really, because I've done all the work. But it still feels like a miracle.
Well, I think there is a miraculous element to it. You do have to do the work, yes. And then you have to hold the whole thing in a positive expectation. But what strikes me is that 2 weeks ago, when you lost your client in the car park for an hour and a half, you said how much you loved that and how much you wanted to do more. Be careful about what you wish more for, because it comes incredibly quickly. On Monday in the reports, one of my clients, funnily enough, had been featured over the Christmas holidays in a magazine called something to do with miracles, funnily enough. And she said, what I really want to work on next is giving a talk at the Miracle Cafe. Guess what? She got that gig yesterday, which was 24 hours later. And sometimes miracles do happen, Nicola, but we've always done the work, thought about it, sort of willed it into our world in some way or another, and asked for it. You've always asked for it, I think. A really miraculous miracle would be one that you didn't know you wanted and you can't see the good in it yet. Do you know what I mean? But I'm loving hearing that. Isn't it good?
Feeling I got from it is the same feeling I got when I looked at the podcast in the top 20 and couldn't quite believe my eyes. And the same feeling I got when the book went to number 1 on Amazon and one of my clients notified me. And it's a marvellous mixture of the most incredible... I mean, you literally tingle all over, physically tingle all over. It's a mixture of excitement, gratitude, disbelief. Just gratitude was the overwhelming one, really, which is always a good feeling to feel, isn't it?
Well, it's also it's where you start with everything.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And that is, I do believe it's the secret to true happiness is being able to feel grateful for stuff, even when things are different.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. And we always can if we try a bit.
Yes, there's always usually hot water in the shower.
Yes, exactly.
That's my default low, the best.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too. Central heating, hot and cold running water, and a comfortable bed and a washing machine. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh yeah, comfortable bed. There's nothing like that. So what's our exciting what's our client challenge of the week then, Judith?
Well, actually I've got 2, and I'm going to try and squeeze in both. And they're both. The first one is a challenge for you, and the second one is a question.
Okay.
And the first one, I'll tell you why it's going to be challenging for you. Okay. I want you to speak in the answer at half the speed you normally do. I want you to forget about 3/4 of everything you know about internet marketing, and I want you to go right back to the beginning. And I think that marketing is something we'll talk about over and over and over again this year, because it's what clients struggle with. So I've got newbie clients, little people in their first business year, and you said something quite dismissive before Christmas, and I agreed with you, and I think we might want to review that today. What we said was, if somebody can't be bothered to spend 100 quid on online, then I don't want to work with them. We're absolutely right. But let's go back before that. So these are complete newbies, and they've got some bodged together website on, half their blogs on Blogger, and they've made their own website on something called Weebly or Mr. Site or something.
Wix.
And the first thing I say to them is, well, of course, you're going to have to move to WordPress. And their second question is, so prepare your answer, but half the speed normal.
Okay.
And none of your massive internet marketing expertise. Okay. So the first question they say to me is, why have I got to move my site to WordPress?
Okay.
And I don't know the answer. I just say, well, you've got to, because all the experts say, but that's not good enough. No. Why must we be on WordPress? Okay. Keep it simple, Nicola, and talk slowly.
Okay. The first thing, and to be to be honest, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here. The first thing is you can't build a business on someone else's real estate.
Yeah.
So you need to have your business on your own domain name with your own hosting, so that you've largely got control of it and nobody can take it away from you.
Okay, so let's just stop there for a moment, because you used a slight amount of jargon, and I really want to de-jargonize all of this.
Okay.
I understand what you mean by real estate. I'm not, and you know, whatever you called it, your own hosting and whatever the thing you called your own domain name. When you say domain name, you mean judithmorgan.com, nicolacairncross.com. Their URL. What's another word for that? What?
The confusing bit for real newbies is that your domain name is hosted somewhere as well. So, for example, I could go to 123reg and buy a domain name, and 123reg is hosting my domain name, and then I need hosting for my website in order to get WordPress. I need which is a bit of software that sits on a bit of hosting. Okay, here's the analogy, right? You've got a road with traffic going past it, so those are all the people on the internet. You've got a little sign. Imagine an American prairie, and there's a road going through the American prairie with lorries and cars and all that stuff on it. And then you've got a little post beside the road that says judithmorgan.com. Mm-hmm. And that little post and sign can point anywhere. It can point to any of the bits of land around.
It'll point to a little plot that I own, will it?
Yes, and the little plot that you own, the little bit of land you own, is your hosting for your website.
Yeah.
Because your little signpost is hosted where the signpost is.
All right. So I know the answers to these questions, but I want you to explain them in proper. So the question: why WordPress? Okay. What's the matter with Mr. Site and Weebly and Wix?
Because you don't own it. It's like renting a property versus buying a property. Okay. You're renting a house on a bit of real estate that someone else owns, and they've got
what's wrong with that?
Well, because they've got lots and lots of terms and conditions that nobody ever reads. And if you do anything like sell stuff from your site or recommend other people's products as an affiliate or whatever, you're quite likely to be in contravention of their terms and conditions. And they could shut you down.
I think there's another thing as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. When we used to do it in the olden days on Typepad, and when people are doing it on things like Blogger, am I right in saying that the larger part of any traffic benefits accrues to Blogger and Typepad in return for them giving me my renting me the real estate?
Yeah, and actually they own your content. If you put anything on Instagram or Pinterest or Blogger, in the terms and conditions, you're signing over the ownership of your content. Now, that is unlikely to ever be an issue. But for example, with I believe in a benign universe, but who knows? Who knows what will happen in the future? The other thing is, of course, that Blogger it's specifically against their terms and conditions to use your site for commercial purposes.
Okay.
And people just don't.
So that's a good one. I think there's other reasons as well, aren't there? Proactive reasons for choosing WordPress.
We're getting to the house. The house that's on your bit of land. You can choose lots of different houses. You can, but the framework of the house, the wooden frame or the metal frame, is WordPress. And then on that metal or wooden frame, you can, and it's very robust WordPress, and lots of builders.
Sorry, one more distinction. It's not just WordPress. It's WordPress.org as opposed to WordPress.com, because WordPress.com is another.
Yeah, exactly. So the WordPress.com is another way of going and renting a website on someone else's real estate. WordPress.org is where you can download a bit of software, except you don't need to do this now because you're hosting. Once you buy your bit of real estate, your people who you buy your real estate from will put up the framework for you using WordPress. Yeah. And the framework is very robust. Lots of builders know how to work on it, millions of them all over the world. So, you're not held to one little builder who says, we can't do that and I'm going to charge you a fortune to do it. There are millions of builders out there who can work with the framework that's called WordPress. The next step is to get a skin on your house. So to get the walls and the roof and the door and what it looks like. And that's the theme. And there are millions of themes that have been created by people that you can use on your WordPress framework. And then there's the things that make it work. So the thing that makes the door open automatically, the thing that makes the garage door go up, the thing that makes the windows go opaque at night time, the things that make the prettiness of it, that's the plugins.
Any other benefits of WordPress?
It's very, very search engine friendly. So you're much
Yeah.
more likely to get some of that traffic from the road looking at your house, visiting your house, and buying things that are in your house that you offer for sale. Yeah, I thought it was quite a good analogy on the spur of the moment.
Yeah, very good analogy. Yes, it is. So I've always been saying, I don't know really, but you've just got to because all the experts do. And that's not really a very convincing argument. I had a feeling that it had some rather good inbuilt SEO, but it's not inbuilt particularly. It's just SEO friendly is what you're saying.
Well, the actual word, I'll tell you why it's SEO friendly. It's because the code for WordPress, before that, we were all using we were all using TypePad quite happily.
Yes.
And we still had little HTML sort of websites, which were a bit like brochures online. So we had imagine you go to a beauty salon and they give you one of their brochures. We had things that were like brochures online, but then we started connecting them to our things where we were creating our content called blogs, and then connecting our blogs back to our little brochures. And that gave our brochures more kick, and got more traffic. But we still couldn't do much to our brochures unless we knew how to change them.
Okay, good. Yeah, so you're reminding me of something else I wanted to say in this context, which is a handful of people I work with, these newbies, have their blog in a separate place to their website. Of course, missing the entire point, which is we want all the traffic that comes to the blog to be on the website.
Well, if you link up your blog, wherever it is, to your website and vice versa, to the outside eye, well, to the outside eye, it can look very similar. So it's almost like the visitor doesn't realise that they're going from. But
we want them in the same place, really. We want the blog on the house on the prairie.
Yeah, we do because otherwise all the content you're creating is not adding to the importance of your own house.
Yeah,
it's like having a house and a bit of land you own yourself, and then doing all the selling activity. All the stuff that's going to bring the traffic in over at Mr. Blogs down the road's property, and all the property, and it's adding to the importance of Mr. Blogs' property and not yours.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I have a feeling we might return to this topic. It's enough for today because I've got a second thing I want to talk to you about in Challenge of the Week.
All right.
Quite a lot of my younger clients, so they would be in their 30s, have a different idea about business than I've had historically. I might change my mind about this, and I think you'll probably say that to a certain extent I already have. But there are a lot of young people, star profiles, who would like, ideally, to make a business out of who they are, the life they're having, and their own creativity. So people who, for instance, there's a lot of precedent for this. People who go out and do something heroic, write a book about it, draw a tribe around themselves, and then sell from that platform. Or people who go on adventures, or people who I don't know really. People who, through living their lives and telling the world about it online, draw a tribe to themselves, and then they can sell something to that tribe. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. My daughter is obsessed with a YouTube channel called It's Judy's Life. Quite close to your name, Judith.
Yeah. Which
is this young, upwardly mobile, fascinating couple in, I think, San Diego or somewhere like that. And they started doing daily emails about their life, and they juice a lot, and they live healthily, and they have opinions on things. And they got married, and they had 2 babies, and they've got, I'm not joking, millions of followers. And
so Nicola, so here's the question then: can you make a business out of who you are?
Yes, if you've got eyeballs, you can sell stuff.
Okay.
And then you've got control of a lot of eyeballs. You're in a very powerful position. Think of Stephen Fry. When he started his book publishing career, he didn't have many followers. Now he's one of the most followed people on Twitter. Do you think that gives him a lot of clout when it comes to negotiating his book deal? Yes, I think it probably does.
Yeah. But he had celebrity before that, didn't he?
Yeah,
So
but that's
imagine you are Judy in I don't know, wherever. Where did you say Judy lives?
San Diego, let's say.
So you start writing. You can't ordain this, can you? You start writing about yourself, and the majority of the world thinks, oh, who could give a flying?
It's videos. Videos are the YouTube vehicle and the Instagram vehicle seems to be much more conducive to this than the written word.
So you've said something really useful there. So if I have starry clients who want to make a business out of their lives, they should be using YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, as well as having a blog, because again, otherwise you're building a business on someone else's real estate. But the idea is to get people to come from your YouTube channel and from your Instagram account to your blog, which is where they can sign up. But now, I mean, okay, so I want to backtrack a little bit, because what I didn't say in that other section was about lead pages. There are tools now like lead pages that I am increasingly relying on. And what happens if they stop working?
Yes.
All my opt-in pages would go down instantly. It would not be a good thing. But having said that, I'd still have the real estate, and people would still come to my website, so I could just create the opt-in pages another way.
Yes.
So you've always got to try and get your traffic to come from the place where you're generating the interest to your house on the prairie, where you can get their contact details in case the things that generate the interest fall over or go away or disappear overnight. And somehow there's something about the internet now, let's call it Web 3.0, it's very visual. Pinterest, another example, Pinterest, Instagram. I mean, I heard about this girl who'd got something like 7.5 million followers on Instagram because she was following her own progress of trying to lose weight. And she's very fit looking now, but she wasn't in the beginning. And she was so clueless about the internet. She didn't even realize she had that many followers.
Yeah.
Now she's got her own weight loss program, her own exercise program. Somebody picked her up and put. And actually, that's a huge opportunity online now. If you can go and find someone on Facebook who's got a monster following, and lots of people in the alternative personal development woo-woo kind of space have got millions of genuine followers, you can do a joint venture with them to help them monetize that audience. If you know what you're doing, that's a great way of doing it. I can't, because I'm a star profile, star creator profile. I'm only interested in my own stuff, really.
But actually, interestingly, those two challenges of the week did tie together rather nicely, because I think that the two things really. One is these people who've created these massive followings online, you can't ordain it. You can't set up this, narrative about yourself and necessarily expect anybody to be interested. If coincidentally they do and you build a large following, yes, you've made a business out of who you are. But even if you do that and you're doing it on YouTube and Instagram, you've got to bring them to your blog, which has got to be on a WordPress site. They've got to opt in, so you own them. And actually, something else you just said there. Twitter, Stephen Fry doesn't own his followers then, does he?
No, he doesn't, but he's very, very good. If you go to his website, which is very beautiful and hosted on his own website, his domain, and it's on WordPress, he's got a lot of reasons for you to give him your name and email.
Yeah.
I very rarely get an email from Stephen Fry, but he could email me if he wanted to, because I've given him my details.
Okay, marvellous.
There's something there. Hang on a second, come back. If you understand that people are on the internet to be entertained or to do something useful, what we're talking about here is the entertaining factor. The entertainment, I mean, when I sit in for the evening with my kids, unless we are specifically watching a film and I make them turn their phones off, they are multitasking and being entertained by their phones as well as the television. They're not used to just having, my son, sometimes I sit here and they come around and it's very quiet in the living room and I think, what's going on in there? Nothing, Mum, I'm just watching YouTube. And then he's got his headphone in, so he can hear what I say, but he's listening to something on YouTube and he's not disturbed. He's got his headphone in, but the telly isn't on.
No, good. And what you're reminding me of is how much, because I've never read one, you might have done, how much all the Harry Potter books entertained children. Either they read them or it was read to them, or they plugged their ears into the audio version for long car journeys and things like that. So actually this has been around, this thing about being entertained in a different way has been around for about 10 years now. Yeah,
it has. And that's, I mean, I watched a fascinating thing about podcasts yesterday. They said, I've thought about sending it to you, but it was a little bit dry on the statistics front. But I thought you won't watch that. But it was something along the lines of they were trying to compare the behaviour of podcast listeners with the people who listen to AM/FM radio in America. And what they found was that podcast listeners are some people are listening up to 5 hours a day, but it's a very dedicated kind of listening. It's a very loyal to certain shows kind of listening. So podcasting again, it's either learning something useful or being entertained, and being entertained in places where nothing could entertain you before. So you can watch TV on your treadmill if you go to the gym. You can't watch TV when you're out walking the dog. What could you do when you're out walking the dog? You can listen to podcasts or the radio if you've got a gadget that will let you do that. But the other thing is, obviously you're not always connected to the internet when you're out walking the dog, but you can listen to podcasts if you've downloaded them in advance. So it's just people want to be entertained.
Yes. Okay. So I want to return to this broad topic over and over and over in 2015 because what's really interesting is that you're moving away from pure digital only communication with people and you're going into more human interaction with your VIP days. I thought I'd never hear that from you. So you're changing, and we're all changing. Marketing changes all the time, and I think that some of my clients who are frustrated with the lack of results from their marketing, we need to look at refreshing new marketing opportunities with people all the time in the hope of finding one that they'll love and that'll be the breakthrough for them.
Yeah, it was, we talked about connection before Christmas, didn't we? I think the fact that I'm now living on my own, although I do see a lot of people. I mean, yesterday it was like Piccadilly Circus in here. Teens trolling through the house. But I think, that I want to get out more. I want to do more speaking. I've already been invited to a couple of events. I want to go to I want to make the effort to go to things, seeing people. I just set up the next mastermind meeting, and I like the organised connection opportunities that I'm getting, and then I come home and I'm all nice and quiet at home again.
Yes, but what I'm thinking now, and this is my last thought I want to make in this section, because I know we'll need to move on, but I'm thinking that we might have a think off podcast about what little experiment we could do alongside it to demonstrate sexy new marketing ideas.
Okay. Yeah, let's have a think about that.
Just something that would be fun, like a little pilot, because I think that all my new clients, they want their businesses to take off like a rocket. It doesn't always work like that. For some people it does, for the majority it doesn't. There's a lot of long slog with marketing at the beginning. There's some resistance to marketing, but actually I think it can be fun. Let's look at all the different routes to market so that we can inspire people to find one that works for them.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember the book Get Clients Now by C.J. Hayden?
Yeah, I do.
It had about 30 different ways that you could market yourself, and she said, pick maximum 2 or 3, have a go at them, pick the ones you think you're going to enjoy the most, because only if you're enjoying them will you actually do them, and see, go hell for leather at those 2 or 3.
But that's what I always say to them. But I think that 30, if she wrote that book today, those 30 choices would be different from the ones she offered us a decade ago. Do you know what I mean? So we should look at some of the latest ones and explore those a bit. But I think where these two challenges cross over is that I'm saying to my clients with all of these ideas and who want to run businesses around themselves, you need to focus on one thing, you need to get known for one thing, you need to build a tribe in your one thing. And they're going, I don't want to do marketing, I just want to live my life and have money follow. And they're not as mutually exclusive as they might have been a while back.
There's something around that, the whole thing of I said to me the other day, I want it to be easy. And there's quite a lot of this. I want to live my life and have the money follow. And quite a lot of the gurus that I'm following at the moment are saying things like, where did this expectation come from? Is it, why do people feel that they deserve to?
Well, Nicola, I mean, I feel like the real bad guy when I say no. I say no. I mean, I apologise all the time. I say, I'm so sorry. I know this isn't what you want to hear, but that's not my worldview. And what I don't want to do is impose on women half my age my possibly slightly outmoded worldview that it's only hard work that brings results. It's not. Judy's results didn't come from hard work. They came from fun sharing about her diet.
Hang on a minute, though. Judy's life is the couple. It back when they started that YouTube channel, it was not so easy to record, edit, and make good a video and get it online and then disseminate it on the internet. It wasn't as easy as it is now, that's for sure.
Well, I think that's my point. What is easy now and what would be fun now? What's working now? I think if we can point to a handful of examples of fun, light, entertaining, to use your word, ways. I think it's the marketing word that puts people off. It's like, oh, it sounds like such a slog. And to be fair, quite a lot of my clients put themselves through slog and it doesn't work necessarily.
Yeah. Well, I remember coaching people forever to get them to even, it took them a year. I mean, I'm sure you can remember some Money Gym clients. It took a year to get a blog even to the point, a website even to the point where they could write a blog post.
Yes, I can.
You remember?
I do.
Okay, perhaps let's call it finding your audience rather than marketing, because unless you find a pool of people who've got a need that you can fulfill, and they are willing to exchange their energy, stroke money, in terms of for your energy, stroke effort, stroke products, whatever. But think back to Gary V. The first time I ever heard about Gary Vaynerchuk was in 2006 when I was listening to a Rich Sheffrin podcast. God knows, I didn't even know it was a podcast then. Listening to some audio, and he was interviewing Gary V, who was a very in-your-face American. Look him up, Gary Vaynerchuk. He's awesome. And he was putting a video a day on his YouTube channel called Wine Library TV. He was still working for his parents' wine shop in New Jersey at the time, and he wasn't in the internet marketing space at all. He was just trying to help his parents get their wine shop going better. And he just put a little video of a wine tasting session. And he's a big fan of the New York Jets. And he used to put the New York Jets helmet on the side, and he'd use that as his spittoon. And he always had somebody off camera that he spoke to, but you never saw the person off camera. It was just very entertaining. But he was teaching ordinary people about wine. And he did a video a day without fail. So he had to do two, you've talked about this when, you were blogging. It's about consistency and commitment and being entertaining and uniquely yourself. You don't have to be anyone, apart from you, but people find us funny, Judith. I've got no idea why. We are just being ourselves. So it's not easy, but if you can pick something you really enjoy, you're much more likely to do it. It's like, I really enjoy editing these podcasts. Most people hate that.
Yes, I agree with you. It is about, I know that my clients will do the M jobs that they like and not the ones they don't. Yeah. But even some of them who are diligent don't get results. And I want to find ways, let's explore ways that we enjoy, because let's face it, we're going to be interested in any route to market, aren't we?
Yes.
Let's find new ways. Everything moves all the time. I'm very cautious that we don't think anybody can become an overnight success, but at the same time that we don't reinforce something that's in our DNA, which is that hard work is what it takes. I think sometimes lucky breaks. You've had miracles this week, for instance.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Phoebe thought, my 19-year-old daughter thought she would like to make a blog. So we've got Phoebe, phoebesoramican.com points to a blog. She put a few videos on it and lost interest very swiftly. But she's still getting 20 visitors a day. Yeah. Who knows where they're coming from or what they're coming for or whatever. Just coming back to the clients who are diligent about doing things and who are not getting the results. I heard a really good expression when I was in America with Rich Sheffrin. It was water's wet and rocks are hard, and life is the best life coach. Because if you're not getting results, you're doing something wrong. And even though you're doing something diligently doesn't mean it's the right thing. And the fact that you're not getting any results from it is telling you that it's the wrong thing. So you need to find something else.
Yes, but we need to help them in this podcast. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, totally. Yes, totally. Yeah. So, I mean,
really, we both love marketing. We both love new ways of marketing. And I think when you taught me everything you taught me that's enabled me to earn a living for a decade, it seems to me likely. Well, I know I found you online because there was nobody else in the space. Yeah. And I can teach what I've done over the last decade, but it seems to me 10 years on that it's harder to get noticed in any particular niche because it's all so much busier and there's all so much information everywhere for everybody.
Yeah, but a lot of people give up really quickly. So yes, there's a lot of competition, but the competition doesn't stick at it. And I was sending out a newsletter to 25 people in the beginning, and that grew to 8,500 over 3 years. Yeah. Because every blooming week, no matter come hell or high water, I sent that e-zine out. And at the bottom of that e-zine was a, please share this. And if you've received this from a friend, click this link to subscribe.
And do you know what I think? Do you know what I think, Nicola? I think that 3 years is the period of time. And if I said that to anybody now, they'd just wither.
They'd give up. Give up immediately.
Well, not give up, but everybody needs to earn money from their self-employment now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been, we've both been there on various occasions.
We have. Yeah.
Coming back to if your clients wouldn't mind, if you bring those challenges, obviously we don't have to say who they are. So if you've got a client who is doing a diligent thing on the marketing and it isn't working, I'd love to have a crack at trying to suggest some other ideas for them.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Get their permission and bring it to the call.
Absolutely.
A word from our sponsors. This week's episode was sponsored by Audio Jungle. To get some immediate atmosphere for your website or your recordings, go to ownitthepodcast.com/Audio Jungle. Oh, good one, that one. Very meaty. I like that a lot. What's your word of the week then, Judith?
Well, it came out of the reports. It's self-care. I went to a time management meeting once that was scheduled at something. Well, I mean, I'm quite good at time management, but I don't know. I don't know why I'm attracted to things like that. I don't know. I'm not anymore. But I've been to several events about time management. Mark Forster's event was about time management, essentially. But there was some organisation that used to run them in London at sort of train stations. So you went to Paddington Station or Waterloo or something, and you went early in the morning before you had to go on to your day job. And it was quite a short meeting. It would be maybe 2 hours from 7 o'clock in the morning or something. And they got us all to write down at the beginning what our priorities for the day were. And then they taught us their principles and asked us to do that list again at the end. And what happened every time was the first list was always about, well, I've got to go to this meeting and I've got to get my work done, and the second list was always about, I've got to phone my mother, I've got to make time for a friend, I've got to make time for myself to go to the gym. They taught you what's really important in life. And what came through my first bunch of weekly check-ins on Monday was that, having had 2 weeks off when everybody had been a bit poorly, what they'd realised was their number one priority for 2015, almost without exception, was looking after themselves better. So my word of the week is self-care. When we all had Christmas lurgies and an enforced slowdown, that seems to have translated into vows to invest in our health in all sorts of ways, whether it's walking or juicing or dieting or running or journaling or whatever. They brought it up from a low priority, which results in illness and burnout, to a higher priority so that it doesn't. And I think what happens during the year is it's easy to come to the first weekly check-in with that as your goal. But as you get busier and sucked into your life, it just sinks lower and lower down on your list. So my word of the week is self-care. It should really be my word of the week every week, because frankly, that's what's important is what the old cliche is, that nobody says on their deathbed, I wish I worked harder, or whatever it is. It's got to be about, we must remember we're having a life as well.
I have a massive challenge with this. I have a massive challenge with making myself care enough about self-care, because I don't enjoy the things that one needs to do to look after oneself.
Well, there must be some similar. It's a bit like the marketing, isn't it? There must be one or two that you do love, Nicola. And actually, they don't need to be horrid. They could be things that they're variant of what's fueled your fire. They're anything that makes you feel, well, grateful. That thing you said about miracles and gratitude, that's one of them. But they're things that remind you that today is great.
Yes. I can't think of anything around self-care that would do that.
I bet you can, actually. We won't do it in this call, but I bet you can. I bet there are things that you just love in the moment.
You're swimming in the sea in Greece.
Yeah, nice.
Quite like that.
Yep. Yeah, so there you go. Let's find a way for you to find more time swimming in the sea in Greece.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. In fact, we're planning a trip to Stupa as we speak.
Marvellous.
Okay, good stuff. So who or what's impressed? Oh, hang on. What's my word of the week? My word
Yeah, I was going to say, don't you have a word of the week? Come on.
Yeah, I do. JVs.
Oh,
This one is absolutely brilliant. I'm going to be working with our mutual friend Sue over the year because she has got some skills that I don't have that complement my skills rather well, and vice versa. Yeah, we've had a call about it yesterday, and we're very enthused about the whole thing because I just think we'd make a formidable team, especially with someone else who she's got a JV with and I've got a JV with called Adrian, who's an Infusionsoft certified consultant, and our clients are his clients and vice versa, and he's got the skills. I mean, I can do basic level Infusionsoft stuff, I can run my own, but he is the genius, and I always refer people to him. So that's rather nice. And then there's obviously
before you go on to the next one, I just want to say on that one, I love her. I think she's a fantastic woman, and it's about time between the two of us we helped her make the money that she's worth.
Absolutely, and I am absolutely determined for that to happen this year because she's had a rough time recently, and she is so skilled. I mean, I work with her in raw local, and she is really.
I know. She's awesome. I agree. Yeah.
I will have to tell her to listen to this now because we've been talking about it between us and 1,000 other people. She's awesome.
She's brilliant. Yes.
And I just love the fact of being able to work with the best people you know at things, see it's about this responsibility thing, not feel responsible for them, but enjoy the fruits of their skills and cleverness. Yeah. And work and create something that's bigger than the two of you. The synergy of two people working together is quite magical, I think.
Yes.
It's a miracle, in fact.
It is, yes. So that's your word, JV. So you're going to give me a second example, I think.
Well, the other example was obviously I do my other podcast with Sarah. Couldn't do it without her. She's absolutely brilliant. And I noticed she's moving forward on her website now, which is rather exciting.
Very good.
Just the whole thing, really, of working with other people in a mutually advantageous way, but keeping your independence and not being responsible for someone else. Who or what's impressed you this week then?
Well, a book and a film.
Okay, go on then.
Which would you like to hear about first?
Fine.
Yesterday I went to the pictures. I saw the Stephen Hawking film.
Oh.
It's Stephen Hawking that's impressed me, actually. I mean, I knew of his existence and I know who he is. I didn't. There's a lot of provisos to this story. This obviously a film. So somebody's taken the raw material, which was a book written by his first wife. So it's not even him. The film's about him, but it's based on the book that his first wife wrote. The material is quite far removed from him, but nevertheless, I managed to learn more about him than I'd known. I knew roughly what his field was. I knew that he was very brainy, and I knew that he was in a wheelchair and had lots of struggles in his life, and I knew he'd written a massive book called A Brief History of Time, but I'd never read the book, and I never thought I would, and I probably still won't. Don't rule that out, actually. Oh. But when he was on his second degree, so he went from Oxford for his first degree to Cambridge for his second degree. At his second degree, he was given 2 years to live. So he would have been 21, 23, maybe 23. When he was 23, he was given 2 years to live with motor neurons disease, which was rapidly. I mean, he was in a wheelchair within those 2 years. He's now 72. So first of all, he's outlived that prognosis by 50 years, and he's achieved massive. I mean, he's a brain, and he's got the biggest brain on the planet, but he's achieved masses from a wheelchair, where in the end he even had he had a tracheotomy, so he couldn't even speak. He has to speak through a computer. And in the film, and of course, again, you don't know whether this is true because it's a fictionalized account of somebody else's story, but there's a line towards the end, and it's quite a simple line, and it says something like, "Where there's life, there's hope." And that's true, isn't it? I mean, imagine you've been in a wheelchair since you were 25. Nicola.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. Being dependent on other people would just do my head.
No, you can't type. Because your hands don't work, but nevertheless, he's managed to do, groundbreaking work.
It's a bit ghoulish, I know, but when they chop his brain apart, they'll find it's very different from the rest of ours.
Well, that's true. Yes,
I haven't seen. Yeah, absolutely. No, let's pray he carries on discovering things.
Not only that, but even he's had a happy life as well. He had 3 children with his first wife, and then managed to. I don't know exactly when I don't know exactly how it happened, but he's been married for a second time.
I know. It's incredible, isn't it? And I was, when I heard the thing about the kids, or watched the trailer for the film and saw the thing about the kids, I just thought, wow, that's incredible.
It is incredible.
Because
So that was that he impressed me, and of course people listening are thinking, well, duh, where have you been? But I didn't know enough about him to be impressed by him. And my second one is a woman called Cheryl Strayed, and I'm reading her book at the moment, which is called Wild, which is also a film out imminently, starring Reese Witherspoon, and she's already won awards for her role in it. But it's the sort of book that I like, and it was the one that I couldn't put down at midnight last night. And she walks the Pacific Crest Trail, which is all up the left-hand side of America, after her mother dies, and her mother dies very young. The woman, she's only about 26 when she's writing this book, and she's completely untrained and unfit for this thing. She puts this massive pack on her back and walks an awful long way as her way out of a divorce, death, and drug addiction, actually. It's absolutely compelling. I love books about people. And this brings us back to Client Challenge of the Week. I love books about people doing heroic challenges that we can't or won't do. So you're reading about people who do things that part of you wishes that you could, and part of you assumes you can't. And I think that comes back to the bit about the clients, on YouTube and other places, making a business out of their lives. This story is really compelling. A one woman against the elements, who she meets, she's testing herself. She always wanted to be a writer. I understand she's written several books, actually, and now they've made a film out of her life. I think you've got to go on and do these adventures, because that's what my clients who are saying this, that I want to live my life. My business is secondary slightly, whereas I think you and I always knew we wanted to create businesses.
Yeah. What was her surname?
Strayed, Strayed, not the name she was born with. It was the name she chose after she was divorced.
Okay, Cheryl Strayed.
Strayed, yeah. Get a sample, see what you think. I mean, one of my favourite books that I read every year is Bill Bryson's A Walk in the Woods. It's the story of his doing the other one, which is down the right-hand side of America, which is the Appalachian Trail, which is funny, but Cheryl's walk is much harder. Yeah. But it's when you test yourself. Do you know what I mean? I've been drawn to these for a long time. They have these programs on the television where people are trying to find out what they're made of, whether it's through the dance training of 30 hours a week or going to 71 degrees north through, ice challenges or whatever it is. I'm really drawn to the hero. I'm drawn to the hero inside us all. And I think these films and these books speak to that place. Whether or not we ever rise to that place in ourselves, I don't know.
Well, like Chris going on the island for a month. And
yes, God, Steve, didn't you think, what are you mental? I mean, I know I couldn't do that one. But I am very drawn to the idea of doing, actually 365 blogs was one for me, but I'd like to take it on now, beyond that, and I don't know what to really. But I'm just saying that both Stephen Hawking and Cheryl Strayed have impressed me this week.
Can I recommend something for you? There's a really good program that started last week called Walking the Nile.
Oh.
And it was incredibly good last week.
Nicola, right up my roo, I can tell already. Yeah, I'll find it, yeah.
Young, very good-looking chap, which helps.
Yes.
Walking from the source of the Nile to the Mediterranean with his mate, who he'd been in the army with, and they have to go through Uganda and all sorts of places. And there was a massive twist last week, I won't spoil for you, which was very poignant. And I just highly recommend it. The whole thing of going through lots of different African and European countries.
I'm on it like a bonnet. Several of my friends and clients have done things like that, walked and run and driven the length of Africa. But one of my clients now is setting up exactly that sort of challenge for himself, which is to drive from London to, I forget where it is now, somewhere.
Drive around the world?
No, he's going to drive from London to somewhere that nobody's ever done it by road before, because it's impossible. Okay. So you have to drive from London all across Russia, and then you get to the Bering Strait, and you have to wait for it to freeze over, and then you have a particular vehicle that goes over there.
Oh, okay.
New York. Is it London to New York? I think it might be. Drive from London to New York, possibly. But it's exciting. It's thrilling, isn't it? And some people have this in them that they want to,
the adventuring,
do these things.
Yes. I have desire to, but
so tell me about you. That's why we read the books.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, exactly. I've been impressed by a book called My Money Moment, Judith.
Oh, thanks, Nicola. Well, you were part of what created that. Did you enjoy it?
I'm only halfway through it, but I'm absolutely loving it. The reason there was a deathly silence right there is because my money moment is Judith's book.
Yeah.
Took a moment to process.
Actually, it's not really my book. We agreed in one of my groups that we'd write a book together. And it was a money-related group that went on after the Money Gym ended. Actually, there was a gap. After the Money Gym ended at the end of 2010, it didn't immediately start then, but about 18 months later, I remember saying, oh, I miss the community, started another one. And so you'll recognise lots of those people, and they're telling the story about their pivotal moment in their relationship with money.
Yeah, and I'm only halfway through. The one that's, I mean, obviously I'm loving all of them, but the one that struck me most forcibly so far is Rihanna's story, where she was giving her son a hard time about the way he was handling money, and how she somehow grew within herself to be able to accept that it wasn't her responsibility. And
She's a very brilliant woman.
Yeah, will you pass on to her if you know?
I will. And do you know what? We've spoken about her twice today. She was the one I told you about at the beginning who had the magazine article in The Miracle Life and is going to speak at the Miracle Cafe. Yeah.
Really, I mean, obviously, like I say, I loved all the other stories as well, but that was the one that struck me because she overcame something in herself, and then he turned his money around as well because he didn't know, well, who knows why it happened, but, it was just a very good, I don't know, it touched me somehow. I suppose because I've got kids.
She's a very wise woman, and just before Christmas she went to South Africa and she met somebody, I forget who it was now, but she went to Robben Island where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned, and she met somebody really important. I can't remember his name now, but she just emailed him and asked if she could come and see him, and he said yes.
Well, anyway, so to tell our listeners how they're going to be able to get hold of this book, because
I don't know yet. I've only, so far, all we did, originally we intended to publish it and put it on Kindle and all that malarkey, but years went by and it took me a long time to turn it into a book. And all I did was give it to everybody who contributed it and said they could give it away from their websites. So I don't know the answer to that question, but can I come back to you in a future episode, perhaps, Nicola?
My ex-VA from Raw Local would be able to get it on Kindle for you in a second.
I'm not sure we want it on Kindle anymore because of this digital nonsense. I wanted all the contributors to be able to give it away as an opt-in from their websites or sell it from their websites.
Okay. Right.
So I haven't decided yet on a central place. I'll probably put it on my Sells bookshop, but I don't know yet because of all this VAT nonsense. It's changed everything. So at the moment it exists, but we don't know what we're going to do with it.
Oh, okay. And, well, in that case, but go to judithmorgan.com on a weekly basis and see if she's managed to get it up for download there.
Or what we could do, can we put it up for download from ownitthepodcast.com?
Oh, that's a great idea. Episode 9, Own It the Podcast. Go and get the book.
Marvellous.
I'll make that happen.
Okay.
All right, cool. Very nice. So that's us done for this week, Judith, and we've run over a tiny bit, but hopefully it was worth it for everyone.
Lovely. Okay.
Speak next
soon,
week.
darling. Yeah. Bye for now. Bye.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.